Alright guys, what's up? Kalen here again. Kalen, aka Nilak the Prophet, doing a behind the song video. I've already done 3 so far. This will be the 4th, and it is for the song Lullaby, which was basically the first major song that I got done for the Outkast, my 3rd project, technically if you count the Storm, that came out in 2014 actually. So, and I think as I do these videos more and more, like the further I get down the track listing, the more I'm going to have to say, because two reasons. First off, like my memory of these songs is a little bit better because they're not so far displaced by the years. Like this track, for instance, I wrote and worked on Lullaby in like 2013, and so that is 5 years now, but it's a big difference as opposed to like 7, you know, with the other songs. And so yeah, so I'm gonna try to be pretty brief because it's really easy for me to kind of get carried away with this song because there was so much packed into it, just like life stuff and, you know, different circumstances and all that. And I've talked about a lot of that stuff before in like past video blogs, so I don't want to spend too much time retreading those waters, but I do think that to set the song, you know, my explanation of the song up right, I kind of do have to get a little bit in depth to kind of give some perspective, and so I'll do my best to be pretty brief, but here we go. So I can't talk about how I started writing Lullaby without talking about another song that came out before it, which kind of set it up in a way, more or less, and it was not at all intentional at the time, but there was a song I made on the Enemy Inside called Hold On, and it was track 12. It was basically, at the time, so I guess I'll talk about this really briefly, but when I first started writing that song and making that beat, I was out of town, we were visiting friends, and they were watching High School Musical, and I just started working on that beat. And so I guess that kind of structured how that beat sounded, and just where the whole song kind of conceptually came from was this whole kind of High School Musical love vibe. So nonetheless, I made Hold On and I wrote it, and with the writing, especially the first verse, I kind of wanted to jump into this cool perspective of kind of like looking down the road and jumping to a futuristic me, and like trying to write from that perspective of like, you know, the assumption that me and the girl that I wrote it about were maybe in a further relationship, and then like something happened, I went to college or I moved out, which ended up happening, but the whole relationship thing didn't happen because of probably this whole situation I'm about to talk about. But so I tried to kind of assume that perspective, and I said, okay, cool, let's write to that, and then we'll kind of go from there and let that frame and kind of structure the song. And so I did that. I put the song out, and I didn't tell the girl that I wrote it about, who was a friend that I knew from church. We were really close to her family, and we had a really, like, things at the time were seeming like we were going to be really close in the coming years. And I really, really liked her, and she liked me, and I was like, dude, I think she's the one. And so I wrote this song and put it out, and I did, like I said, I didn't say anything to her about it at all. Yeah, so I shared it on like social media, and like all these people were asking, yo, who's this about? And I was like, oh, just somebody I'm really into. And then I let people on to believe that we were actually dating, but I'd never like talked to her specifically and said, hey, this is like where I'm coming from in this song, this is what I'm thinking. And so things kind of got lost in translation, and I wasn't really super good with explaining it to her. And so what ended up happening is I kind of got into this really awkward stage, and our relationship and friendship kind of went in that direction, and we just kind of, she was cool, but like me, I was just like, I just got really, really awkward around her. And I would like, it was weird stuff, like I would show up to church like on Wednesday nights and just totally pretend like she wasn't there. Or I would say hi, but wouldn't get into a real, like, legit conversation with her out of fear that maybe we would actually talk about the song, and I'd have to come up with something to explain, like, what I'm actually feeling and dealing with the possibility of rejection. I don't know. But nonetheless, that whole awkward stage thing went on for about a year, and that is kind of what led to the hiatus that happened in 2013, where I just kind of stopped working on music. Because coming out of the Enemy Inside, I really wanted to explore the type of content I was doing on Hold On, this whole like love and relationship dynamic, and for some reason, well, not for some reason, because of what happened with Hold On, I couldn't really get to the place I wanted to, like emotionally, to produce the lyrics I really wanted and produce the songs I really wanted to create. And so basically, because that wasn't working out and I didn't want to just try to change my focus to something else, I just kind of gave up and spent a couple months just like on and off trying to come back and do music again and not really feeling totally into it. And that went on basically until the end of 2013. And Lullaby was the song that really kind of kicked off like me getting back to, you know, creative stuff again, you know. And so without further ado, now that I've given that backdrop, let me get right into, you know, the actual creation of the song. I looked back at an old video I did about Lullaby back in like 2014, where I just kind of walked through the process it took to actually create it, like the instrumental. And excluding the bass line, you got essentially this. Honestly, the instrumental itself kind of wasn't super special to me initially. I mean, it was, and here's one reason. It was the first real legit beat I ever created with Reason. And so it felt like an accomplishment for that reason, because, and no pun intended, that reason, but it felt like a serious accomplishment. And then also like just the tone and the atmosphere of the song and the instrumental was something that was really special to me, and something I hadn't really explored a lot. Just the real atmospheric and like, you know, out there kind of strings and the choir and all these different elements that were all together and creating this really interesting vibe. So yeah, so I did that. I made the instrumental. That was back in like March 2013, and like that was like right before the hiatus. Then the hiatus happened, and so I didn't really come back to that song and really start writing it for real and like getting into it until like late 2013, early January. And I think January was when I put the song out. And I just got to a point, man, just feeling like, dude, why am I not confronting these things and like taking care of them the way I should be? Like, I should be really trying to, you know, be intentional and, you know, tell this girl what I'm feeling, tell her what's up, because I know she's wondering, and she needs me to open up and tell her. And so I said, you know what? I've always kind of had a better time and like a better means of explaining and expressing myself through music. Let me just write a good song that kind of unpacks what I'm feeling. And for the longest time I couldn't really write Lullaby for that reason, because it was just like, man, what am I feeling? What's going on internally? And just trying to find a way to communicate it in song form. And eventually, you know, I think, praise be to God, I actually was able to, you know, get it down on paper after months and months of just trying to figure out, all right, how am I going to frame this? How am I going to write this? Is it about her or not? Like, I got to do something with this song. So I created it, it was done, and I put it out. And this time I actually sent it to her first. But I didn't really explain so much what all was in it. I just kind of assumed that she would get it and that she would, you know, because I said a lot of stuff in it. I was just like, I'm going to let the song speak for herself. She can take from it what she needs to. Which now, in hindsight, it's like, don't ever do that again. But nonetheless, that's what I did. And between the reception I got from her and then the reception I got from people, I felt really, really encouraged by Lullaby. And it was really, I think, a turning point for me. Just like continuing that same trend of just getting more and more transparent and like real in touch with my emotions and where I'm at in life through my music. And so for that reason, it's still one of my favorite songs. And I'll say this too, one of the things that really like that made it so special to me is that like it was the very first song I created that I really like fell in love with. Even before I had the lyrics written and had it fully recorded, like the beat, I'd literally go to sleep listening to that beat, man. Like it was like that. I would just keep it on repeat and just hear it and just feel the emotion of it. Just tap into those vibes and just kind of just be in there. And so to this day I still really, really love that instrumental. It's funny, I wish I could remember a lot more about actually creating that instrumental, but it was just one of those things that it was just like I put it together, threw it together, and then it just kind of stayed on the back burner for a while, and then eventually, you know, it hit me. I was like, oh, let me take it this direction and do this with it. And that's basically when it kind of was conceived and really took on its, and it became its own, I guess. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention. about this song. I'll mention one more thing, and this was also in January. We had just gotten back from a youth retreat at my church in January. Actually, maybe in February. One of the 2 months, early 2014. And everybody had left except for me and the girl. Basically, I once again, still in that awkward phase, I'm not trying to say anything. And so I went into the dock, which was like our youth group center, and hopped on the piano and was just like playing Lullaby, actually. And just like, just going through it and all that. And this girl, we're gonna call her Lucy, because I'm reading Narnia and that's the first name that came to my mind. Lucy came in, and I was playing the keys, and she just like came around the corner and she was like smiling, and she came and like, I think she sat beside me, or no, she was like in a chair behind me, and I was just playing, and I was like I was shaking, dude. I was just like, this is crazy. And then like there was this conversation we had after I like kind of ended playing it, and I wish I could have said so much more in that moment, man, but I think just because of where I was at that point as a teenager, and then also kind of where we were as friends, I just couldn't really get all that I wanted to say out. But nonetheless, more or less, I basically told her that like, I really, really am attracted to you. I really appreciate you as a person. I admire you a lot, but I don't really think that I'm ready for a relationship with you, or with anybody for that reason. And that was kind of like where I left it. And I guess I'm not too bummed out about how I responded, but I just think that I could have said things a little bit better nowadays, or maybe not, I don't know. But it is what it is. That was like the major point at which, like Lullaby, like I said, I was like, man, I'm forever going to be indebted to this song. I love it so much. And so, yeah, that is Lullaby. I hope I covered everything pretty good. I feel like I've gone a long time talking about this, but once again, I couldn't really condense it so much because there's so much that was packed into it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys enjoyed the project. It'll be coming out really soon, and I will continue to make these behind the song videos leading up to the release. But yeah, peace.
That the Lord's granted wisdom so I could write this rap. Love, so baby, don't you